Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by. Welcome to the 2017 ACC Coaches Football Media Teleconference. During the presentation, all participants will be in a listen-only mode, and afterwards we'll conduct a question-and-answer session. At that time, if you have a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. If at any time during the conference you need to reach an operator, please press star 0. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded Wednesday, November 15th, 2017. And now I'd like to turn the conference over to Mike Finn. Please go ahead.
Thanks, and welcome to today's call. Just a couple of brief notes before we get started. Next week, due to the Thanksgiving Day holiday, the call will be on Tuesday. It'll be the same time, begin the same time at 10:30, but it'll be on Tuesday next week. And next week's call is the last regular season call. We will have 2 teleconferences related to the ACC championship game. The first one will be Sunday, November the 26th, beginning at 4 p.m. with both participating head coaches. And then on Monday, the 27th, we'll have a call featuring the student athletes beginning at 11:30. So the same number that you used to reach this call will work for those calls as well. And, of course, next week's call is on Tuesday. Now we welcome Virginia head coach Bronco Mendenhall, whose Cavaliers will travel to Miami Gardens, Florida for a Saturday game against the third-ranked Miami Hurricanes at Hard Rock Stadium. The game will have a noon kickoff, will be nationally televised by ABC. Coach, just a brief opening statement. We'll go to questions.
Yeah, on behalf of myself and our team, we're looking forward to our next game. We welcome the challenge of our game versus Miami, versus their current success and a difficult environment to play in. These kind of experiences are necessary for our growth and development, and we're looking forward to the game. So I'll take questions at this point.
If you'd like to register for a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question is from Mike Barber with the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Please proceed.
Morning, Coach. I know we've talked about this topic a lot, but I'm curious if you could just speak a little to Micah Kaiser and Quinn Blanding, what their decisions to come back, their personality, their play, how that's maybe accelerated the rebuilding job you had there at Virginia.
It has accelerated the rebuilding. It's given myself as the coach and leader clear examples of leadership from a player level of what Virginia football looks like, from a practice, class, social, and really athletic standpoint. And they're doing as much. I'm so happy that they're going to have a chance to play postseason. I'm happy that November is a meaningful month for them. They've earned that chance to have meaningful games at the end of the season, and really, I think what they've done, besides what they've contributed this year, will probably continue to play out on a greater scale in the next couple of years and going forward because of their examples.
And obviously, great players can be very businesslike on the practice field. They can be very loose. They can have all sorts of different personas. What's it been like to coach those 2 kids? What are they like to work with?
They're different. Micah is very businesslike, intense and fierce and competitive, and is very demanding on his teammates. And Quinn is also a very hard worker, but he also is lighter and has more fun, and it just has a more freewheeling personality during practice. Always working hard, but also doing it in a more lighthearted manner than Micah, and so there's a nice balance between the 2 of them.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next question is from Doug Dowdy with Roanoke Times. Please proceed.
Yes, Bronco. How much difference is there between the kind of offense you faced last week in Louisville and Miami's, and what are the big differences?
There are some similarities. There's a zone read kind of core run game element, which is very similar to what Louisville uses. There's spread formations where the ball is thrown, and there's scrambling quarterback and scrambling potential of extending plays. I think probably the biggest differences is Miami's plays are the volume of plays are smaller in terms of are less in terms of frequency or the number of things you're defending, but they complement at a very high level, and so it forces you to stay balanced. So I would say volume of plays is less, but intent and similarities are probably where Louisville's offense starts from. Miami just kind of keeps it more in that phase rather than expanding to some of the unique things that Louisville takes even further.
Does Rozier model Jackson at all? Were any similarities there?
Yeah, but there is from the standpoint that he's mobile. He's not afraid to run or have quarterback designed runs, and he's capable. When you watch the games, there are big plays, whether he drops back and it's a designed quarterback run as in a draw, or when you see him read the zone play and he pulls it down and runs it effectively. So I would say Lamar is more dynamic in terms of speed, but Miami's quarterback is absolutely fast enough and elusive enough to make, and has made, most people in the ACC miss on a pretty frequent basis.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And our next question is from David Hale with ESPN.com. Please proceed.
Hey, Bronco. I'm just curious, from you having coached against him and seen him, Lamar doesn't get a whole lot of Heisman love this year, but his numbers are probably every bit as good as they were last year. A, do you think he's a legitimate Heisman candidate? And B, what would your feelings be about a guy maybe on a team that didn't win quite as many games or wasn't in contention at the end of the year being in that conversation?
Yeah, I think I'm philosophically opposed to a player whose team is not having great success to be in the race. Just by nature of, I think the greatest players have to play at a level where their team is having substantial success. That's just a core belief, and so I kind of operate from that framework. Now, in terms of Lamar specifically, one of the greatest athletes that I've ever had a chance to play or coach against and try to defend. I mean, he's amazingly dynamic, and just literally the ball can go the entire distance on any given play at any time. And I think he's exceptional as a football player and as a quarterback. So I have no issues with that. Again, when I think of the Heisman, I marry it, and I'm not asking anyone else to, but I marry it together with the team's success as well, and I think that has to be a team competing, ideally for me, for a national championship or, in one of those Final Four playoff spots.
Gotcha. Thanks, Bronco. Appreciate it.
Sure.
We have a question from Leo Haggerty with It's Sports Magazine. Please proceed.
Good morning, Coach.
Morning.
Coach, a little bit on that same lines. With almost all the Power 5 conferences having the possibility of a two-loss champion, and if that occurs, the media is going to start clamoring for the playoffs to be expanded to 8 teams. The upside is more teams with a chance to get in. The downside, you'll have 4 teams playing 15 games and 2 playing 16. That's an NFL season. Where do you sit on that, expand or stay?
I sit on expanding and eliminating a preseason game. Is where I would sit. And so I'm for expansion if you're looking for a true champion, and I'm for eliminating a non-conference game at the front end to keep the volume of games down.
Coach, last question, and thank you for your time today. In your opinion, if there's one issue, either on the field or off the field, recruiting or playing or rules, whatever, that you feel needs to be changed in 2018, what would it be?
Wow, that is a great question. My number one rule would be for coaches not to change jobs until after the national championship game. I think it sets a poor example for players where coaches leave teams they've worked with their entire year and then change jobs and leave their team to play without that leadership for a bowl game. And I think it sets a poor example for young people in terms of honoring commitments.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Coaches Mike Finn in Greensboro, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Mike.
Good luck this weekend, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday.
Okay, see you.
We now welcome Clemson head football coach Dabo Swinney, whose Tigers ranked second by the college football playoff, fourth by the Associated Press, and third in the Amway coaches poll, will host in-state rival the Citadel this Saturday at Memorial Stadium in Clemson. The game will have a 12:20 p.m. kickoff, be televised by the ACC network to over 100 markets. And Coach, just a brief opening statement, and then we'll go to questions.
Okay, Mike, appreciate it. Well, we're really excited to represent the Atlantic as the division champs, and we're looking forward to Charlotte here down the road, playing a great Miami team. But for us, just getting focused on this week, our last home game. It's been a great year here at home, and really proud of our team. We're getting ready to honor our seniors. This has been an awesome group. They're 26-1 at home, and going for the really the Clemson record if we can find a way to win this weekend. But really proud of our seniors, proud of our team and how they've competed all year, and know it'll be a special day in the Valley. It's also Military Appreciation Day, and that's always just a great all-around day here at Clemson. So looking forward to that, and we're playing the Citadel, which obviously is a military school and has a great history as well. But looking forward to playing and really just trying to continue to improve our team. I think that's what it takes at this point. If you're going to have a chance to continue to advance, you've got to stay focused on improving, and because there's so much to still get better at.
Questions for Coach Swinney.
If you'd like to register for a question, please press 1-4 on your telephone. We have a question from the line of Paul Woody with the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Please proceed.
Hi, Coach Swinney. Good morning. And I apologize for rehashing something that happened weeks ago, and I apologize to you and my colleagues also on the line, but I haven't had a chance to ask. After the Syracuse game, you not only were very gracious to Coach Babers after the game, you went over to the Syracuse locker room and congratulated their players. I just wondered what your motivation was for that, what the process was to do something that's fairly unusual in this day and age.
I was really happy for Dino. I know, how hard his team played. They outplayed us and outcoached us, quite frankly. And, the biggest thing is there was first of all, it's not like I went across campus or across the stadium. I mean, their locker room is literally right next door up there at Syracuse. And so it was very easy and very convenient. And it was, and I don't even know how that got out. But I talked to him briefly on the field, but I really just I just literally walked next door to the coach's locker room there, really just to tell them, hey, congratulations again. I didn't get to see many of the coaches. Really just a quick handshake with Dino, and I just have great respect for how they run the program and the job that Dino has done, and I've been on both sides of it, and I just wanted to just tell them again, as a group, hey, you guys did a heck of a job, man, and this isn't about Clemson. This is everybody's going to write about Clemson losing. Syracuse won, and I just felt like tell them that there was no motivation other than that, and like I said, the biggest thing is it was just literally right next door. It's not like I went across campus or something, and but that's it.
Well, even if it's right next door, after you've taken a loss, it's never easy to lose. It's harder
No,
to be
it's not.
gracious.
Yeah, well, it's, I think at the end of the day, we just try to win and lose with class and just try to, learn from everything. I mean, it's just football. It's not life and death. And, again, I've only known Dino, been around him here for a couple of years now, but being in meetings with him and stuff, I'm a pretty good judge of people, I think. And I just think he's one of the bright lights in this business. I think he loves his players. I think his staff really likes working for him, and I think he's about the right thing. So, just great respect.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Our next question is from Leo Haggerty with It Sports Magazine. Please proceed.
Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Coach, with almost all the Power 5 conferences having the possibility of a two-loss champion, and if that occurs, the media is going to start clamoring to expand the playoffs. The upside, more teams in. The downside, you got 4 teams playing 15 games and 2 playing 16. That's an NFL season. Do you want to see the playoffs expanded to 8 or stay at 4?
Yeah, I like it where it is. I think it gives. I think it's the best of both worlds. I think that the people who want the playoff, it gives them a little something to be excited about, and the people who don't want to play off, it gives a good balance and still maintains the fact that it makes the regular season so important. Every game is so critical. The more you expand it, the less the regular season means, and I think it gets watered down pretty quickly. In my opinion, I think that's what makes college different. I mean, I think you basically become the NFL or the NBA. You kind of get kind of the same thing, and all of a sudden you got teams that take weeks off or whatever it may be when they know they're already in the playoffs. But the bigger thing is you're going to have to change the structure because nobody wants to start in July. The season is long enough. These are student athletes, and people who don't think they are, they don't walk in the shoes of these kids, and what they have to do on a daily basis, classes and so forth. Maybe there's some places out there where they don't go to school, but that's not the case here. So we just get them for a short amount of time, and they've got a lot to balance. So you're getting in the finals and a lot of things, and it's a long season. But you'd have to probably. To me, we have playoffs right now. We have multi-layers. We have 100 and something teams in the playoffs because the regular season, to me, every week is a playoff because it means so much. I mean, it matters all throughout the year. We're going to lace them up and compete in whatever system we got. But I like what we have. I mean, even if we weren't, I know we've been in the top 4. We've earned that. But even if we weren't, I like the situation the way we have. I think it still creates some great, interesting postseason matchups, and it gives everybody, a lot of teams, an opportunity to end their season with a win, as opposed to just going pretty much all playoffs. We got one team that's going to finish that way, and again, this is to me, college has always been different. So it's what I like about it.
Coach, in your opinion, is there one issue, either on the field with rules or off the field, like the new early signing dates, that needs to be changed for the 2018 season?
Oh man, there's probably several things that I could answer if I was really sitting down thinking about it. But nothing right now just pops in my head that it's just sticking out right now that I just think has to be changed. I mean, there's a lot of things that I would love to see changed, but nothing that I think has to be done, right this second.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck in the Valley Saturday.
Appreciate it.
Coach, this is Mike Finn from Greensboro. Thanks for being with us, but we're out of time today. Good luck this weekend, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday with the Thanksgiving holiday.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
We're now joined by Florida State head coach Jimbo Fisher, whose Seminoles will host Delaware State this Saturday at Doak S. Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee. The game will have a noon kickoff and will be televised. It'll be the first of an ACC doubleheader on the regional sports networks. The game will be televised by 12 different regional sports networks, including Fox Sports Florida and NBC Sports Washington Plus. Coach, just a brief opening statement. We'll go to questions.
Yes. Had a very hard-fought game last week with Clemson. They did a great job, have a great team, did a great job in the game. Our kids competed very well, had opportunities in the end to pull it out. We just didn't make a play, and they made the plays they had, so congratulations to them. So we're getting ready to play Delaware State. We need to play 3 great games down the stretch. We need to play this one first. Need to prepare well, practice well, and active. Had 2 really good practices this week, very spirited, and kids were in a great mindset, and I thought practiced very well. Need to continue that and play great football down the stretch. Questions?
If you'd like to register for a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. And we have a question from Chris Heidel with Herb FM Sports Radio. Please proceed.
Hey, Jimbo. How you doing?
Hey, Chris. How are you, buddy?
Doing great. I saw Delaware State this year when they played against Delaware up in the Free State during that whole rivalry game against Delaware. How do you prepare for a team that you have never played before in the MEAC? Because I know we don't play the MEAC that much. So how do you get ready for a team like that?
Well, I mean, the same way with the amount of film and that are out there, and you can see what they do and how they do it. And, of course, you talk to other people you've talked to that play them or guys that you know that do it. So, I mean, it's a very typical type thing, even though you haven't played it. Our world is so social media active that, there's not much out there that you don't find out or don't know. And now, do you know how to play them or those things that you have never played them before, but as far as what they do and how they do things, it'd be very normal.
And just talk about, what do you guys have, what's the 3 keys for you guys to pull out a win on Saturday?
Again, going back and play with consistency. Starting the game fast, playing with great consistency, taking care of the football, not giving up big plays, making big plays, and play with great consistency throughout the game.
Well, good luck this Saturday.
Thank you.
Questions for Coach Fisher?
To register for a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. And we have a follow-up from the line of Chris Heidel with Herb FM Sports Radio. Please proceed.
Hey, Jimbo, I forgot to ask you a question earlier.
Right.
When did you start evaluating for next season's talent? I know we have 3 games left and we want to get to the bowl game. When do you start evaluating for next year?
Next year, well, after this season's over. This season, we still have a lot to play for, and team needs to play very well, and you do that when the season's over.
Okay. All right. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Coach, this is Mike Finn in Greensboro. Before we let you go, let me just ask you, just briefly, to talk a little bit about the progress Cam Akers has made this season, and as a freshman, how his development has gone.
But played very well. He's developing very well. We think he has an outstanding career. His roles in the team and the little things in which he can do within our offense. Of course, we know he can run the football and catch it and do those kind of things, and with the ball in his hand. But he's really becoming a complete player, and I think has an unbelievable future.
Okay, defensively, are there any standouts you'd like to point out at this stage of the season for your team?
I thought this week, Brian Burns and Derwin James were really playing well. Derek Notty's had an outstanding year with us. And, of course, Matthew Thomas has made a lot of tackles. But those guys have really jumped out. DeMarcus Christmas, kind of quietly, has had one heck of a year. That has allowed for a lot of things to develop and do, and very proud of him. Josh Sweat also.
Any more questions for Coach Fisher?
To register for a question, please press 1-4.
Coach, thanks for being with us today. Good luck
you.
this weekend. We'll talk to you next Tuesday due to the Thanksgiving holiday.
Thank you.
We'll be back with Coach Bobby Petrino from Louisville right at 11 a.m. Okay, we're back, and we're joined by Louisville head coach Bobby Petrino, whose Cardinals will host Atlantic Division rival Syracuse this Saturday at Papa John's Cardinal Stadium in Louisville. The game will have a 3:30 p.m. kickoff, be nationally televised by ESPNU. Louisville quarterback Lamar Jackson became the first player in NCAA history to pass for more than 3,000 yards and run for more than 1,000 yards in consecutive seasons. Coach, just a brief opening statement. We'll go to questions.
Well, we're coming off a good win against Virginia. I felt like our defense played very well, particularly our defensive front. We did a great job of pass rushing and putting pressure on their quarterback and ran to the ball and tackled well. Offensively, I thought we moved the ball well. Lamar had another great game. He's an amazing player. We're also able to get Day Williams and Malik Williams running the football. And our offensive line keeps getting better. So we're looking forward to playing at home for 2 weeks in a row and the challenge that Syracuse presents.
Questions for Coach Petrino?
If you'd like to register for a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. And we have a question from Gary Graves with the Associated Press. Please proceed.
Hey. Good morning, Bobby.
Morning, Gary.
Yeah. Just kind of following up what you're talking about with Day and the running game. I mean, obviously, you've looked for someone or some people to kind of help out Lamar, and I guess is it one of those things where it's better late than never now that you're getting it, especially at this point where you were really looking for wins?
Yeah, I mean we run the ball well. We're one of the leading rushing teams in the conference, and Reggie Boniface's had some really good big games for us. Lamar does a great job running the ball. The thing that Day Williams and Malik Williams add to us is the power and the physicalness and the ability to run the ball downhill. So I thought that helped our offense. It changed it up a little bit and gave us those backs that ran through some tackles and made yards after contact.
As a follow-up, was it just a matter of being healthy for your backs, or just kind of seeing who could kind of step up and really fill that role to take some of the burden off of Lamar?
Well, yeah, we've had a lot of injuries in the backfield, something I've never been through before. We lost Jeremy Smith before the season started. Malik came off of a dislocated elbow, and Day Williams was out most of the season. So it's good to have them both back, and they certainly add a lot to our offense.
Thanks.
And our next question is from Drew Carter with WAER Radio Syracuse. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach. Last time you guys played Syracuse, it was in the Carrier Dome, and Lamar Jackson had that really famous hurdle over Cordell Hudson. What do you remember about that play?
Just saying, wow. I remember standing on the sideline and watching him do it and just went, wow, because I think everybody on our sideline said the exact same thing. It was an amazing play and certainly something that you don't see every day.
Do you think you've ever had another player who could pull off something like that?
Well, we had another guy try it, and he got stoned. It was our tight end tried to jump over a guy later on in the year, and the guy raised up and hit him pretty good. So at least he tried.
All right, Coach. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Jake Lurim with the Louisville Courier-Journal. Please proceed.
Morning, Bobby. Thanks for taking the time. Just wondering, it's been an up-and-down year for Russ Yeast. He started a few games for Jair and returned punts. And then, last week with Jair coming back and Reggie stepping in as punt returner, and I think he only got in for a couple of plays. What have you seen from him, and I guess what's the next step for him to become more consistent in the future?
Yeah, I think he's going to be a great player for us. We got thrown in the fire early, and without Jair on the field, people went after him a little bit. I thought he did a great job of keeping his poise and keeping working in practice and getting better. Did a good job when we had him back there as a punt returner catching the ball. Didn't have a lot of opportunities to run with it. And the reason that we took Reggie out of there is because we were down to one running back, and we didn't want to get him hurt on punt returns. So with the return of Day and Malik, we were able now to put Reggie back returning punts again, and he's done a great job with it. You know, I remember back at the big return he had against Purdue, and then what he had last week, and I just wish we would have been able to have him back there all year.
Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot. Speaking of punt returner, is Jair, is he pretty much out of that? Important he was
back
for you
there catching them, so he's been back there working at it and catching them, but we probably won't see him yet.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Thanks, Jake.
Any more questions for Coach Petrino?
To register for a question, please press 1-4. We have a question from Gary Graves with the Associated Press. Please proceed.
Yeah. Hey, Bobby, about your defense, when you look back on the last game and what they were able to do, was it just a matter of just like the bye really just kind of helping refresh them physically and allowing them to really, get to the ball, just having that kind of energy? Or what did you change schematically during that week?
Yeah, we didn't do a lot of different schemes. We got some guys healthy. It was great to have Jair back there because he gives us a lot of energy, and his personality is dynamic. And much like Lamar is on offense, he makes everybody around him better. Stacey Thomas is back at 100% healthy and played fast and extremely well. We're able to give Trayvon a little break and get his legs back under him. And I thought him and James Hearns and Jonathan Grenard really controlled the defensive front and, put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, particularly early. And then that changed some of what Virginia was able to do against us. But overall, it's probably our best performance with the defense, and we played extremely hard.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
And we have a question from Christopher Heidel with Herb FM Sports Radio. Please proceed.
Hi, Bobby. How you doing?
Good, Christopher.
Talk about Syracuse. Are they a different team from last year to this year? Because I know Dungy's still the quarterback, and it seems like he's been one of the leading rushers and passers for that squad. Is it a different squad since last year?
Yeah, certainly. Last year it was our opening conference game. This year it's our last conference game. So we almost feel like it was 2 years ago that we played them. Eric's a great quarterback. He can get the ball out of his hand extremely quick. He's accurate. He's a good running threat, and a great leader for him. They've got two of the best receivers in the conference. So it's a great challenge for us. Defensively, it's a lot of the same guys that we did play a year ago. They challenge you with the movement that they do with their defensive front. And their linebackers are good players. They can really come after you and pressure the quarterback.
And let's talk about your seniors. What do you like about your seniors on senior day? And just talk about them real quick.
Yeah, I got a lot of love for this senior class. It's kind of a group that was melted together. Some of the guys were here redshirting when I first came in. Some of the guys we recruited, and they played as true freshmen. And then we added to the class with some of the junior college transfers. So they've done a great job of leading this program, and the first group to take us through the ACC conference. And they've done an unbelievable job for us. So it's always a hard day when they play their last home game.
Well, good luck this weekend.
Thanks, man.
And our next question is from Dan Tortora with WakeUpCallDT.com. Please proceed.
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good, Dan. How you doing?
Doing well. I know you just discussed Eric Dungy and the receivers, but what you can say to go a little bit further and what Dino Babers, in your opinion, has done with this team over the last couple seasons, last season and obviously into this one.
Yeah, I mean he's a great coach. He's got a philosophy about going fast, and they stick to it and do it really well. They're going to challenge our conditioning and challenge our ability to get lined up quickly, and he's done a great job with their offense, and Eric's a guy that can really execute it. We've been playing against him now for 3 years and got all the respect in the world for him.
And then on your side with Lamar Jackson, I mean, seeing John Walford in a hurry-up style offense with Wake Forest, what he was able to do and knowing that he can run as well as pass the ball, when you're seeing that film from the Wake Forest game, you know that Lamar can do those things well. So do you think that there's an advantage to you in playing Syracuse's defense, knowing how they struggled a week before?
Yeah, I don't know about that because it seems like all year long that people have come in with a different game plan than they've utilized, for Lamar. So we have to be able to recognize it and adjust and see the different things that they're going to try to do. Lamar's been very good at it, and he does a nice job of really understanding the fronts and coverages and who they're trying to pressure with. So it'll be a situation where we just need to be aggressive early, and then we will have to make some adjustments as the game goes on.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
Coach, this is Mike Finn in Greensboro. Thanks for being with us today. Good luck this weekend, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday due to the Thanksgiving holiday.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
We now welcome Syracuse head coach Dino Babers, whose Orange will travel to Louisville for the Saturday game at Papa John's Cardinal Stadium. This past week, Syracuse wide receiver Steve Ishmael was named a semifinalist for the 2017 Bolitnikoff Award. Ishmael is currently second nationally in receptions per game. Coach, just a brief opening statement, and we'll go to questions.
Well, obviously, we've got our hands full with Coach Petrino's staff and Lamar. This is going to be our last road trip of the year, and we haven't been able to win on the road. It's a very difficult place to play, even though I've never been there and talking to other people. And we're playing a fantastic football team, and we just got beaten up last week, so we're looking forward to seeing if we can go out and change all that.
Questions for Coach Babers?
If you'd like to register for a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question is from Paul Woody with Richmond's Times-Dispatch. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach. Good morning. I apologize to you and my colleagues on the line to sort of rehash old ground here, but I haven't had a chance to ask about it. After you beat Clemson, Coach Swinney seemed to be very gracious on the field and then came over into your locker room. I wondered if that had surprised you and what your thoughts were on that.
Well, first of all, I was gone to the press conference, so I wasn't actually in the locker room when Dabo came over there and spoke to some of the players and stuff. But if I would have been there and Dabo asked to speak to my players, I'd have said yeah. I wouldn't have had a problem with him. I have a great deal of respect for him and what he's done at Clemson, and I think he's a good guy, so I wouldn't have had an issue with it at all.
Did you find it unusual that a losing coach would come over and do that?
Different? Yeah. Unusual? There's a lot of things that are unusual. I wouldn't say that's unusual. I would just say that if it's something that he really wanted to express to one of my guys or some of my players, I just think he's a good enough person, and I think my players are good enough people that we could accommodate each other.
Okay. Were you impressed by it?
Yeah. I thought it was really gracious.
Thank you.
Our next question is from David Hale with ESPN.com. Please proceed.
Hey, Dino. I'm assuming you are already well aware of Lamar Jackson's season this year. Having seen him last year at sort of his peak, how would you say he compares? And as a sort of follow-up to that, what's your overall philosophy on a guy in the mix for the Heisman who's on a team that has maybe lost more games than and is not his team is not a competitive team for a championship?
Well, first of all, I think that Lamar's having a better year this year than he had last year, and he's an unbelievable player. Bobby's done a fantastic job with him, and I wish him the best at the next level. When it comes to the Heismans and winning records and losing records, I can't get in the middle of that. I've had a Heisman winner, but he was at the FCS level. And we were a playoff championship football team, double-digit wins, big wins over Power 5 schools. I think that all that stuff has something to do with it. But unless you've got one of those guys competing for one of those situations, I don't really think you should get a vote.
Thanks, Dino.
Mm-hmm.
Our Our next question is from Dan Tortora with wakeupcalldt.com. Please proceed.
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Morning.
To look at the defense, just what you can say about the response, after the 64-43 loss, just how the defense has responded in practice and what you've seen from not just them on the field, but their mentality as well.
Well, obviously, we're hurt and a little embarrassed. I don't think that's been. I don't think that's a true representation of how our defense has played this year. I throw it underneath the happening category, and hopefully we're going to play a lot better versus an even more explosive offense than what we faced against Wake Forest.
And then as far as the offense goes, I know that you had talked about Dungy making improvements and whatnot, but just what you can say about, if you have to go forward with Zach. I know that you had spoken about him playing within his means in the last game against Wake Forest. If it has to be Zach, what has he shown you so far this season?
Well, I think you can look at that first half and you can see what Zach is capable of doing. It's he's got a Pittsburgh game from last year. He's got the first half of the Wake Forest game this year. I mean, obviously when he's on, we're capable of scoring a lot of points with him. Now you can flip that around and say the second half of the Wake Forest game, we only scored 3 points with him. So hopefully we get first half Zach and not second half Zach.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
We have a question from Stephen Bailey with the Syracuse Post-Standard. Please proceed.
Hey, Dino. On Monday you said Eric needed a little bit more improvement to kind of be ready. Has he made a little bit more improvement in these couple days?
Based off of what the trainers are telling me, they're saying that he's getting better, and hopefully that it's going to be good enough by the time we get down to Louisville.
Then looking kind of at Zach's game, what did you kind of see on film to try and work on him with this week? Was it just a matter of missing spots in the second half? Something that Wake Forest adjusted that he didn't really counter to? What kind of teaching points could you take away from that half?
Well, first of all, that second half is not all Zach, and the first half is not all Zach. I mean, there's coaches involved, there's players, 11 players, rotations, different substitutions. I thought that Zach, for someone who had not played all year, to be able to put that many points on the board for a football game, regardless if it was in a half, in a football game, was very impressive. And hopefully we hope that we can get even more out of him, because we're probably going to need that based off of who we're playing and where we're playing them at.
Okay, thanks, Dino.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question is from John Kekis with the Associated Press. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach. Dan asked you a little bit earlier, what's the mood of the team right now? They still upbeat?
No, I think they're a little embarrassed, and I think that they've got a bad taste in their mouth, and hopefully they're anxious to play another game to prove to people that they're not as bad as their last performance.
Thanks, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
We have a question from Matthew Gutierrez with the Daily Orange in Syracuse, New York. Please go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Dino. Thank you for your time. Like you touched on, Lamar can both run and pass, kind of like Wolford did Saturday. Any initial adjustments you plan to make defensively to stop that?
Well, I can't say that over the phone and in the airways, but the biggest thing is that Wolford's not Lamar. Lamar is the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, and he does everything better than the quarterback at Wake Forest. And in saying that, that's not good for us. So we need to find a way to play team defense, and it's going to take a whole bunch of hats to be able to I don't even know if you can control the guy. To me, he's like Michael Jordan. It's the Jordan rules. Lamar is going to get his. You just got to make sure that you don't have two other running backs go for 100 yards or a wide receiver goes for 100 yards, because I just think that guy is so dynamic, he's hard to stop by himself. They're not a one-man team, but you better try to stop everything else so you can have an opportunity to win against those guys, because Lamar is going to get his.
Thank you, Dino.
And we have a question from Chris Heidel with Urban FM Sports Radio. Please proceed.
Hi, Coach Dino. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing great. Lamar Jackson, the last time you played him last year, he basically ran all over you guys. Now he's adding his arm to the equation. So how are you going to control both his arm and his leg on Saturday?
Well, you're a little misinformed because last year he ran all over us and he threw all over us. So he got both parts in last year, and hopefully he doesn't get both parts in this year to the degree he did last year, because I think it was like a school record and people were taking pictures out on the stadium and stuff after the game. So they did extremely well, and hopefully they don't do that well this year.
And what do you guys have to do to break this road losing streak? Because I know you guys had close games this year, one at Miami, one at Florida State. What do you guys have to do to win one to make it feel better for the road?
Well, I just think that we need to come out a lot more focused. I think everybody's trying to win. But to win on the road is difficult, and to win on the road in a tough venue with a very, very good football team is even more difficult. So we need to make sure that we don't make any mistakes, maybe try to win the turnover battle, keep turnovers to a minimum, and if we can do those things, maybe we can keep it close in the fourth quarter and it'll go our way.
Well, I hope you have safe travels to Louisville.
Thank you very much.
Any more questions for Coach Babers?
To register for a question, please press 1-4. And we have a question from Dan Tortora with wakeupcalldt.com. Please proceed.
Coach, you had spoken on how the team had responded to the game, and you said, it's not just on Zach, it's on coaching, and there's a bunch of different elements. What did you learn as a coach coming out of the Wake Forest game that you can take forward for these last couple in the regular season?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that we have to find a situation to play more people. We're playing the same guys over and over again. They're getting banged up, and they're starting to look different, not only on the football field but on tape. We've got to get more people in there, especially when you don't have the depth that we have on our football team. When you got the amount of snaps that you're playing offensively and defensively, you got to find a way to rotate that stuff in there, rotate those guys in there, so at the end of the game you can have your best players fresh.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coach, this is Mike Finn in Greensboro. Thanks for being with us today. Good luck this weekend. And we'll talk to you next Tuesday due to the Thanksgiving holiday.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back right at 11:30 with Coach Paul Johnson of Georgia Tech. Okay, we're back, and just a couple of quick reminders. Our call next week will be on Tuesday due to the Thanksgiving Day holiday. It'll start again at 10:30 with Coach Mendenhall of Virginia and go through our normal order. That's the teleconference next week. The last regular season teleconference will be on Tuesday. There are also two teleconferences attached to the ACC football championship game. That will be Sunday the 26th at 4 o'clock with both participating head coaches. And then Monday the 27th, beginning at 11:30 a.m. with 3 players from each of the participating teams. So ACC football championship teleconferences on Sunday the 26th and Monday the 27th. The number you used today to dial into this teleconference will be the same one then. With that, we now welcome Georgia Tech head coach Paul Johnson, whose Yellow Jackets will travel to Durham, North Carolina for a Saturday game against Coastal Division rival Duke at Brooks Field at Wallace Wade Stadium. The game will have a 3:30 p.m. kickoff, be televised nationally by 12 different regional sports networks, including Fox Sports South in North Carolina and Georgia. Georgia Tech and Duke will be meeting for the 85th consecutive time in a series that began in Atlanta in 1933. Coach, just a brief opening statement. We'll go to questions.
Well, good morning. I was happy with our team last week. We finally were able to finish a game. We'd lost so many close games in the last series that it was great to be able to come out on the right end of one. Looking forward to renewing the rivalry with Duke. It's always been, the last few years have been some hard-fought close games, and we expect nothing different this time. So hopefully we can put together a good game plan and go up and play well in Durham.
Questions for Coach Johnson?
If you'd like to register for a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question is from Christopher Huddle with Herb FM Sports Radio. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach Paul. How you doing?
Good. Good morning.
Congratulations on the win last Saturday. Just talk about playing Duke. Daniel Jones has been struggling, but he's getting. I don't know how he's getting better, but he's struggling. What do you guys have to do to contain him? This Saturday.
Well, he's a dual threat guy, and he can run and throw. And last year when we played down here, we were fortunate to win the game, but they had over 500 yards against us, and he put on quite a show with pretty much the same cast. So it'll be a challenge for our defense to see if we've improved any and to go up and play better against him.
And just talk about this rivalry against Duke. What do you like about this? Every year you guys play them, and it seems like tough games and all every time you guys play them. Just talk about it real quick.
Well, it's a divisional game, and the two schools have played a lot of years, and academically, both have high academic standards, like a lot of teams in the league. So it's just been a close, hard-fought game the last few years. It's always tough. We always have a hard time when we go up to Durham to play.
Well, good luck this Saturday.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions for Coach Johnson?
If you'd like to register for a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. We have a question from John Kekis with the Associated Press. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach. I'm assuming you've probably looked at last week's Duke Army game. Just wondering your impressions of what Jeff Monken has done there at Army.
Well, Jeff's done a great job. I mean, no question about that. I think that when he went in there, he inherited pretty much a mess, and he's got the thing turned around. And they played well against Duke. It was a game where they struggled to move the ball offensively, but they found ways to win. They blocked a punt and got a couple of turnovers defensively and did just enough to get the win. So I'm sure they were excited to come out of that one ahead.
Well, he credits you a lot with his development as a coach. Do you talk much during the season?
Yeah, we talk every so often. We'll check in and just visit a little bit, and certainly we talked some this week. But he's done a really good job there. I think you have to change the culture first, and he went in there and has been able to do that.
That's fairly difficult to do, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, he had some experience. He was a big part of our staff at Navy when we went in there and got that thing turned around and going in the right direction, and I'm sure that he used a lot of the same principles and the same stuff at Army.
And one more question. How difficult is it to recruit at a service academy?
Well, it's different. I would say different. The neat thing that everybody forgets, it's difficult to recruit there, but the advantage the service academies have, and I think sometimes you don't even realize it until you're not there, is they're not limited to any number. So they can sign 80 guys a year. And when you do that, the odds of finding 8 or 10 pretty good players are better than when you're taking 25.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I'm amazed at how many guys they have to look at.
Right. Yeah.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck for Saturday.
You bet.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Any more questions for Coach Johnson?
To register for a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone.
Paul, while we just have a minute or so here, could you talk about a couple of the standouts from your offensive line? You rank high again this year in rushing average nationally. I know your line has played pretty well several times this season.
Well, at times we've played decent up there on the offensive line. I think that probably the two best players are the center Kenny Cooper and the left guard Parker Braun. They're both sophomores, but they would probably be the guys that have been the most consistent. Shamir Devine's the only senior we have on the offensive line, and he's done some good things at times. But those two guys are probably our two best players, the center and the left guard.
Let's go ahead and take the question from David Hale from ESPN.
Hey, Paul, I just a quick question. I know Florida State rescheduled their game that was postponed due to the hurricane. I'm assuming largely for bowl eligibility questions. It's not as big of a question for you, though you guys aren't quite there yet. Was there any discussion of trying to find a 12th opponent for the regular season to play that final weekend of the ACC championship game?
Yeah, there was. I mean, we actually had a bye late, so we were going to try to play during our bye week. It came 7 or 8, and I think our administration tried. They called several people. We couldn't find anybody who wanted to play. We thought we had a game with Georgia State here that would have fit the bye game, but it required them to move a game, and one of the teams in their league wouldn't move the game for them. So we tried, but we just couldn't find a game.
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we have a question from Ken Segura with the Atlanta New Journal-Constitution. Please proceed.
Hey, Paul. Trey Jackson isn't someone we hear a lot about, but can you tell me a little bit what kind of guy he is? He seems like he's someone with his head on straight.
Yeah, Trey's a great kid. I mean, he's played mostly on special teams since he's been here, but he's a hard worker. Never been a problem in any kind. Does well in school and is a good team player. I think he's well respected by his teammates and fun guy to be around.
Right. Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah.
Coach, thanks for being with us today. Good luck this weekend, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday due to the Thanksgiving holiday.
All right. Take care.
We'll be joined by Coach Fedora of North Carolina momentarily. Okay, we're back, and we have with us North Carolina head coach Larry Fedora, whose Tar Heels will host in-state foe Western Carolina this Saturday at Kenan Stadium in Chapel Hill. The game will have a 3 p.m. kickoff. Will be available on ACC Network Extra. The game marks the first meeting between the Tar Heels and Catamounts on the gridiron. Coach, just a brief opening statement, and we'll go to questions.
Yeah, we're looking forward to getting back and playing at home. Especially the last time our seniors will ever step out on the field. Western Carolina is a very well-coached team by Mark Spear. He's done a great job with these guys. They've had a heck of a season and got some explosive players on their offense. That the running back, and the quarterback, and wide receiver. That we have a lot to work to do.
Questions for Coach Fedora.
If you'd like to register for a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question is from Andrea Adelson with ESPN.com. Please proceed.
Larry, can you just describe the emotion in the locker room after your win last week?
Yeah, it was tremendous, Andrea. It was, the kids have continued to do the things that we ask them to do, bring great attitudes to practice, have been full of energy and practice really well, and finally, to not make those same mistakes that we've been making and get over the hump was a big deal on Thursday night. So it was very rewarding for our players.
Why do you think that they were able to put everything together in that game?
Well, it wasn't our best game, but the number one thing was we took care of the football. We didn't turn the ball over, and so that put us in a position to win the football game. We had a game-changing play on special teams. Defensively, we didn't play our best game, but we stopped them when we had to, and then offensively, we were able to grind it out at the end when we needed to.
Thanks, Larry. Appreciate it.
You bet.
We have a question from Christopher Heidel with Herb FM Sports Radio. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach Larry. How you doing?
Good.
Talk about Coach Spears from Western Carolina. What type of coach is he? Because I know you guys are playing him this week. Just talk about him real quick.
Well, I think he's been. I think this is his 6th season there. I think he's established the culture that he wants to establish. I think they play offensively with tempo. They still have the quarterback run game involved. They've got option involved. Multiple formations that create all kind of problems. Defensively, the guys are very well coached. They're going to run a 3-4 defense that they're very multiple in their blitz scheme. And, their special teams are solid. I mean, I just think he's put together a very good football team that's very, very competitive.
And let's talk about your seniors. I know you guys are playing Senior Day on Saturday. I know this year hasn't gone the way they wanted it to be, but what did your senior class bring to the other underclassmen?
Well, I think they've done a really good job of keeping, under the circumstances of this season, keeping this team together and keeping them positive and keeping them practicing hard, and that's probably the thing, just their leadership that they brought to this program this year in these circumstances, because there aren't many senior classes that have had to deal with this, nor had they the fortitude to continue to lead in a positive manner.
Well, good luck this Saturday.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Coach Fedora?
If you'd like to register for a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone.
Coach, this is Mike Finn. While we have a minute, Anthony Ratliff-Williams continues to make big play after big play for you. Can you talk about his development this year and what he's meant to your team?
Yeah, Anthony came in as a quarterback and had never returned a kick before in his life, and obviously didn't play receiver. So, he is really starting to develop into a extremely explosive wide receiver and kick returner. I mean, and he's just learning the nuances of the position. I mean, it's not just you just go out and play it. He's learning how to run routes, how to set up a defender, how to use his leverage against him. All those things, that you watch him develop and know that he's just going to get better and better each and every rep that he's out there.
And your quarterback, Nathan Elliott, has given you some stability at the position, it looks like. Can you talk a little bit about what he's done for you the last couple of weeks?
I think Nathan's come in and one, especially in this last game as the starter, he was able to take care of the football, which enabled us to get a win. The week before against Miami, he played very similar in his decision-making process, but we turned it over 4 times in a game, and so you have no chance. So he was, he has settled in, and I think he understands what we want to do. He's got good presence on the field, and he's leading this team, and so that's what we needed at this time.
Any more questions for Coach Fedora?
To register for a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone.
Coach, thanks for being with us today. Good luck this weekend, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday due to the Thanksgiving holiday.
I can't wait, Mike. See you then.
Thanks, Coach. We'll be back right at 11:50 with Coach Justin Fuente of Virginia Tech. Okay, we're back, and we now welcome Justin Fuente, whose Virginia Tech Hokies will host Coastal Division rival Pitt this Saturday at Lane Stadium in Blacksburg. The game will have a 12:20 p.m. kickoff and will be televised by the ACC network. It will also be available in areas that the network doesn't cover due to the fact that the network is split this week on ACC Network Extra. The game will be televised by WCW-TV in Roanoke, Lynchburg, and WTAE-TV in Pittsburgh. Coach, just a brief opening statement, and we'll go to questions.
Yeah, we're looking forward to playing back at home in Lane Stadium. It's senior day. We're a really special group of men. We've got a tremendous challenge in front of us. Pitt is a very well-coached and tough, disciplined football team coming in here. They'll pose challenges for us in all three phases of the game.
Questions for Coach Fuente?
If you'd like to register for a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question is from Dan Tortora with wakeupcalldt.com. Please proceed.
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Just to speak on early success for you, I know we've spoken before on team buy-in and whatnot, but just what you've been able to take away in these first couple seasons on how quickly the team transitioned into you and found success.
Well, I think, and I guess, let me backtrack here. I guess the first thing I would say was we had a group of guys that was really welcoming. I don't want to say that they were looking forward to change. I just think that the whole transition was handled so smoothly concerning everybody else that the players sort of just fell in line with that, meaning administratively from Coach Beamer on down, I think the players just kind of fell in line with that and were ready to do whatever we asked them to do. I think they deserve a tremendous amount of credit for that and how they've worked on things that have changed. I don't know. I know this. I don't know if that's correlated in success, but I don't know. I know that we would not have had any chance to have success if they hadn't done those things that way, and we're all pretty appreciative of that.
And then when you look at the players, obviously you lost some guys last season, but to be where you are right now, bowl eligible again and pushing forward, just what you can say you've taken away from some of the guys, the carryover, the Cam Phillips of the world and whatnot, that have you seen leadership out of some of these guys, and if so, who are they?
Yeah, absolutely. The first guy that comes to mind in our senior class is Andrew Matuapawaka. He's just done a fantastic job. Really kind of the very definition of a Virginia Tech football player. He just works incredibly hard, shows up every single day, and gives us all. The other guy would be Eric Gallo on the offensive line. He's our center. He just works incredibly hard and has done a great job being more vocal this year and presenting leadership. And we've got many other guys. We've got some unsung heroes. Anthony Shigog and Deion Newsom are two seniors that play primarily on special teams, play a little bit on defense, that have just done a fantastic job of leading and helping us bring some young players along.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Our next question is from Jerry DiPaola with Pittsburgh Tribune Review. Please proceed.
Thank you. Thanks for the time, Coach. I'm curious about your defensive coordinator, Bud Foster. Other than the fact that he's one of the best with X's and O's in the nation, what exactly does he bring to the team, and why did you guys keep him on the staff? When you got to Blacksburg last year.
Well, the first thing is he's obviously a fantastic coach and communicator. He is a team-first guy. He's not into doing anything other than what's best for Virginia Tech, and we hit it off pretty well on that accord. He not only does he understand the scheme that we run, but he can make adjustments in real time. He has has given us a great kind of scouting report through the transition of kind of how things work here and what we can tweak and what we should stay away from, and just been a great resource through this transition.
Did you ever go against his defense while you were at other places?
No. Obviously seen him on TV and that sort of stuff, but never coached against him.
Did you change? Did you change the defense much, or was it very much a mix of what he was doing and what you brought with you?
No, I didn't change the defense at all. I changed our off season, how we practiced, what our summer looked like, what our football program structure was. But James Shebest runs a special team personnel, but no, I didn't come in and change anything defensively.
Well, good. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question is from Andrea Adelson with ESPN.com. Please proceed.
Justin, you guys have been through a little bit of adversity here with a couple tough losses. How have you seen the guys respond in practice this week?
They've been great, and we've got a million excuses and all that sort of stuff. The bottom line is we haven't done what was needed to win those 2 road games. It was really nice to have a normal Sunday with the kids this past Sunday, and they've been great. We had a great workout on Sunday and another good one on Monday. They're certainly not happy, but it's been really positive.
And how are you guys going to try and make up for the loss of Edmonds in the secondary for the stretch run?
Well, those are big shoes to fill. First of all, not only is he a fantastic defensive player, but he has been tremendous on all our coverage units on special teams. Special teams wise, we'll have to have several young players step in and take on larger roles in terms of covering kicks. On defense, we still are fortunate that we've still got a few veteran players there in that 3 safeties role that we have between Shigog and Newsom and Mook and Ladler. Ladler's a little bit younger player, but Mook's played a lot, and then Reggie and Devin Hunter. So we've still got a 2 deep back there of our 3 safety positions. But obviously, Terrell has left some big shoes to fill.
Thanks, appreciate it.
You bet.
And our next question is from Norm Wood with the Daily Press. Please proceed.
Hey, Justin. Hopping on here a couple minutes late, so I hope this hasn't been asked. If it has, just ignore me. But you've been good on punt coverage this season. You're getting ready to face a guy in Godfrey Henderson who's taken a couple punts back for touchdowns this season. He's got 3 for his career. He's got 4 kickoffs for touchdowns, too. Obviously pretty skilled. How concerning is that guy this weekend?
Incredibly concerning. He is fantastic. They do a great job schematically on their punt return unit. We are without our best cover guy. Terrell Edmonds was unbelievably productive for us on punt coverage and kickoff coverage. We'll have to have some young people step up and do a great job there. So it's been a huge point of emphasis for us and is a huge concern because he is a fantastic football player.
Is he a guy you try to punt away from, or do you really kind of subscribe to that philosophy at all? I know Oscar's had really good hang time to be able to get your guys in position to make tackles, like you said. But is that something you really try to do at times, just kick away from guys?
Well, we haven't. Directional punting is a little bit more. I think based on comfort level of the punter, and it's something we've talked about with Oscar. I don't know that you're going to walk out there and say it's obvious that we're trying to kick away from him. I don't know that we're incredibly comfortable with telling Oscar which way to punt the ball just yet.
Thanks.
Coaches, Mike Finn in Greensboro, thanks for being with us. Good luck this weekend, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday due to the Thanksgiving Day holiday.
You bet. Thanks.
We're now joined by Wake Forest head coach Dave Clawson, whose Demon Deacons will host at ranked division rival and 19th ranked NC State this Saturday at BB&T Field in Winston-Salem. The game will have a 7:30 p.m. kickoff. Will be televised nationally by ESPNU. The game is the longest continuous series in the ACC as the Wolfpack and Demon Deacons will be meeting for the 108th consecutive game or every year since 1910. Saturday's contest will also be the 111th meeting of the two teams in football in a series that began in 1895 in Raleigh. Coach, just a brief opening statement, and we'll go to questions.
We're looking forward to get back home again after 2 weeks on the road. Really proud of our football team last week for what happened, what we did up at Syracuse. And anytime you can win on the road and come from behind in the second half and fourth quarter in this conference, it's very hard to do. And so proud of our guys, but we have a great challenge this week with an excellent North Carolina State football team. They're proficient in every area. They're extremely talented on their defensive front. They start 9 seniors on defense. On offense, a very good offensive line, an excellent quarterback who's a great decision maker, and lots of big-time skilled players. And the Hines is electric. Samuel, all their skilled kids. Lewis, Myers, Harmon, they're just really, really good. Dave's done a great job there, and this is the best team that he's had, and they've had some great wins this year, so this will be a tough game for us.
Questions for Coach Clawson?
If you'd like to register for a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. And our first question is from Dan Tortora with wakeupcalldt.com. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Coach. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Doing well. So look at, I know you talked a little bit about the victory over Syracuse, but you outscored Syracuse in the second half 40-5. Just if you've ever coached a game like that and just what you could say about the effort of your team to do something as big as that in that second half of play.
I've certainly been a part of second half comebacks and fourth quarter comebacks. I mean, it just, we our kids played really well, and we were fortunate. At times we maybe left a guy open that they missed, and it just, we had to get a few stops. That was the key, and just the way we play and the way Syracuse plays, that 30 minutes is really more than a half of football with the tempo of both offenses. So, we knew we'd have an opportunity to come back if we could just get some defensive stops, and fortunately we did that. So it was, like I said, a very rewarding game, and we made some big plays when we had to on third down and in the red zone, and it was a really good team win, because people will obviously point to the offense when you score that many points, but the key to the game was our defense gave up 38 first half points and then only 3 points in the second half, and that's hard to do when you give up that many points in a half. It's easy for kids to get discouraged and frustrated, and our kids showed a lot of resiliency and found a way to make stops.
And then as far as John Wall, quarterback, he's been talented obviously in his time in college, but he seems to, at least through my eyes, be playing more comfortable than he's ever played. Would that be a fair assessment to say?
It is. I think a lot of it has to do that we're improved on the offensive line. It's hard to get comfortable as a quarterback when you don't get time and you're not running the football. If people can tee off on you and you can't protect and you don't get open, it's hard for anybody to play the position. So John's improved, but I think a lot of the improvement has happened because we've improved around him. Our line's playing better, our receivers are improved, we're running the football better, and that allows the quarterback to function a lot better when people don't know what you're doing and where you're doing it from.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Our next question is from Andrea Adelson with ESPN.com. Please proceed.
Dave, you mentioned the team that NC State's bringing in there, and obviously Bradley Chubb is the headliner. Where have you seen his biggest development from the last time you guys played him to now?
I think he's more of a complete player in every way. I mean, I remember him as a freshman being a contributor, and then as a sophomore, we couldn't block him as a pass rusher. And now, just his ability to chase plays down. He has the ability to speed rush you, bull rush you. He's got good counter moves. He's very stout against the run game. He gets off of down blocks and those things really well. And he's even a big contributor on special teams. I mean, you have to factor for him when you're punting the football and your PAT field goal unit. I mean, he's just become a complete player. And it's what makes it even more difficult when you play NC State is, sometimes you may play against an elite end or an elite tackle and you can cheat against them. There's a lot of guys on NC State's defensive line. If it wasn't for Chubb, those guys would be the feature guy, and that's who we'd be talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So Jones and Hill as tackles are excellent players. Street and Rosenborough at the other end are both, all those kids are outstanding players in their own right, and Chubb's obviously the headliner, but if Bradley Chubb wasn't on NC State's team, people would say, well, how are you going to block Rosenborough? How are you going to block Street? And that's what makes going against NC State so tough, is that there's not one person in that front that you can just say, hey, you don't have to worry about them. I mean, they're all very disruptive players.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Our next question is from Jake Lurim with the Louisville Courier-Journal. Please proceed.
Dave, thanks for taking the time. Just wanted to get your perspective on as someone who faced Syracuse's no-huddle offense on Saturday, and you run a lot of that stuff too. You run similar tempo. Just maybe how tough it is to face that and to prepare for that as a defense?
I mean, it's very difficult. And we do a fair amount of that, so we get to practice against it. But certainly the way Syracuse does it is even more unique. Number one, it's a challenge just getting lined up, and then you've got to be able to play your assignment, which we did not do a good job of in the first half against them. And some of it was just base calls, that it's such a scramble to get lined up. Sometimes kids don't process the call, and then you have all the different rule breakers that Syracuse presents to you with, unbalanced stuff and, formation into the boundary and all the different ways that they get to empty. Those all present different checks and rule breakers for your defense. And then now you add the skill level of Ishmael and Phillips and Strickland and Mo Neal and, their quarterbacks. So, there's just so many plays that Syracuse gets. They get big plays just because people aren't lined up. And the tempo of their offense makes that very difficult. And then even if you do get lined up, you have matchup issues. So they're very hard to go against. And, it took our guys a good 30, 35 minutes before we could even settle our feet in and play anything that resembled defense.
Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot for taking the time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Any more questions for Coach Clausen?
To register for a question, please press 1-4. We have a question from Christopher Heidel with Herb FM Sports Radio. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach Dave. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing great. Congratulations on the win last week. The tough question of the day is, do you have enough points to carry over for this week after getting 63 on Syracuse?
Well, we just got to go out there and execute the offense, and we hope it's not a tank that gets emptied. We hope we can generate some more plays and somewhat block NC State's front, so we have a chance to get a little bit of time to throw the ball and hopefully have some run seam. So NC State's defense is very good and presents a great challenge.
And talk about Finley, their quarterback. I know we talked about Samuels and Chubb. Nobody talks about Finley, the quarterback. It seems like he's ready for the next level. Just talk about him.
Well, trust me, in our office, we are talking about Finley. I think Finley is excellent, really smart, great decision maker, can make every throw. He's more athletic than probably people give him credit for. He does make some big plays with his feet. He's extremely well coached. He knows where to go with the football. And he's hard to fool, and he's playing at a really high level. And I mean, we think NC State does a fantastic job on offense. They're, we have never really been able to slow them down in my time here. And Finley is a really good player that can make every throw.
Well, good luck this week.
Thank you.
And we have a question from Samuel Evers with Rocky Mount Telegram. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach. Seems like over the last decade or so, Wake Forest has given NC State sort of the most trouble when the games are played in Winston-Salem. I'm just wondering, what kind of atmosphere that you're hoping for from your home crowd, and you think that's going to help you guys?
Well, we think we'll have a great atmosphere. The ticket sales are tracking very good right now, which usually happens with our in-state games, and I don't look at the last 10 years. I mean, the last time NC State played here, it was 28-0 after the first quarter. So,
right.
What happened in 2007 or 2009, I think has very little impact on this game. That the last 2 years that we've got off to a poor start, and NC State's got off to a great start in this game, and even after that, we settled in that we were just too far behind to even really get back in the game. So. Dave has done a great job of getting his team ready to play us every year, and we've got to be prepared from the very first snap, or this won't be a football game.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
Coach, this is Mike Finn in Greensboro. Thanks for being with us today. Good luck this weekend, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday due to the Thanksgiving Day holiday.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
We now welcome Pinhead football coach Pat Narduzzi, whose Panthers will travel to Blacksburg, Virginia for the Saturday game against Coastal Division rival Virginia Tech. The game will have a 12:20 p.m. kickoff and will be televised by the ACC network. The two teams have met 16 times previously, and the series is deadlocked at 8 wins each. Coach, just a brief opening statement, and we'll go to questions.
Sure, Mike. Thanks. Appreciate it. Just trying to recover from a tough one last week at home here with North Carolina, and a good football team, as we know, that didn't turn the ball over. And we're moving on to the next one. We got another great opponent in Virginia Tech, who we get to play down there. That I made the mistake the other day of putting on the Virginia Tech North Carolina game and just watched what their defense did to North Carolina. And they're impressive on both sides of the ball. They got a lot of great players and a lot of speed on the field, so it'll be a great challenge for us.
Questions for Coach Narduzzi?
If you'd like to register for a question, please press 1-4 on your telephone. Our first question is from Mike Barber with Richmond Times-Dispatch. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach, I'm curious, as you look at their defense, their linebacker, Andrew Matua-Pawaka, he's been very steady and makes a lot of tackles. Do you see him as a guy who is just kind of cleaning up, or is he a little more active and a playmaker? How would you evaluate him?
He does it all. I mean, he's a cleanup guy based on, it's all based on the defense that they're running, whether it's a blitz or whether they're playing base. But, he does a great job. He's got a great nose for the football when they are playing their base, and he has an opportunity to read his keys and get downhill and fit where he's supposed to be. But he's, obviously with the success they've had, it all starts with that middle linebacker, not only with his intelligence, but the way he plays. He's a heck of a football player, and he's their leader.
And when you look at, Terrell Edmonds, their safety, who's going to be out for the rest of the season now, what kind of an impact did he have? And how does that affect your preparation, knowing that a player like that won't be back there?
It really doesn't change your preparation. Obviously, Terrell's a good football player. I'm sure his brother will play his tail off for him. So he'll be still with them on that defense, but he's tremendous. Obviously, but when you look at their skill that they have on defense, they've got them laying around somewhere where they move Anthony Shegog over there to that spot, or Khalil takes over for him. they've got guys, and it starts up front. It starts with Tim Settle and Randy, Ricky Walker and Vinny up front. I mean, those are the guys up front that make the biggest impact, and those guys make those guys on the back end's job a little bit easier.
Thank you.
You got it.
Our next question is from Dan Tortora with WakeUpCallDT.com. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Coach. How are you?
Doing super, Dan. How you doing?
Doing well. To speak on one of your former quarterbacks, Nate Peterman, he's going to get the starting job with the Bills finally this season. Just what you can say about what they have in him and what fans should expect from a guy that you know well.
Yeah, Dan, Nathan Peterman, I came out the field today and heard that news, which is, obviously great news for the Peterman family and in my opinion, for the Buffalo Bills. I, immediately picked up my cell phone and gave him a call. I'm excited for him. They got a smart quarterback that I think, that move there by Coach McDermott. I also, text Sean McDermott as well because he, we've known each other for a long time, and, I had a call with him and his senior staff, I guess, over there, probably the Sunday before the draft, talking about him, in front of their group and just told him what I thought about him back then. But I think he's just, he's a Kirk Cousins who I've been around a lot, just a smart guy that's going to get better game by game. I think the Bills fans will be happy to watch him. I know, with his touchdown pass he threw last week, we've kind of stayed abreast of what's going on. Even though as a college football coach, you don't very often get to watch much of the NFL video that's happening, but our video people put some clips together about what's happened with some of the other guys in the in the league that are Pitt grads. So I'm happy for him, and I think I think they'll make some improvements offensively, and he's going to steadily get better every day.
And then as far as your team this season, at 4-6 with a couple games to go, where have you seen improvement on the team? What have you taken away from the squad this year, as you have two big games coming up to round out the regular season?
Yeah, we got two big ones for sure, and it'd be nice to finish on a strong note with these two wins, which is obviously the intent. What we intend to do here as we approach these two games. That's kind of our approach, and we know they're against two top-notch opponents, one a top four team. So, I've seen improvements in a lot of different areas. Is it what you need to win a football game? Last week I thought we played a pretty darn good game, but a couple costly penalties in one drive. I should say one penalty in a drive, and some other maybe no penalties in a drive. Hurt us and cost us a football game. And then kickoff return, some of those things. So every week it's up, it's something different. But I think our kids have come together. I think the biggest thing, if you had to say what is the biggest improvement, I'd say it's our run game. That we've been able to get our run game going, as we try to christen a new quarterback and trying to find out where our passing game is or where it's gone. I think you can at least say, hey, what do we do well on offense? We did a nice job of running the football the last 3 weeks when we got 2 out of the 3 wins, and then I think defensively, you have to say we've done a pretty good job at stopping the run at times. Except for that last drive where we'd like to have gotten the ball back to our offense.
Thanks, Pat. I appreciate your time.
You got it, Dan.
Our next question is from Patrick Height with News Leader in Staunton, Virginia. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach. Working on a story about Mike Herndon, and just curious. I know he's gone back and forth between offense, defense, and offense. I was wondering how important it is to have a player on your team who is willing to fill whatever role you need him to fill.
Mike is a great kid, Patrick. He is a super kid. He's a team guy. It's funny you ask about him because yesterday he's in there all by himself, sitting in the D-line meeting room watching video all by himself. So he's into it. And I just asked how he's doing. He says, I'm a lot happier in this room. He loves defense. He came as a defensive player, moved him to guard, moved him back over. He's done both for us. He's actually gotten more snaps as a defensive player this year probably than on offense, and I believe he got a start early in the year at right guard. But he's a super guy, and it's unbelievable. It's great to have guys that can play both ways. And one of our philosophies, in recruiting is to take more D linemen than you take, inside guards and centers because they can do both. And that's the case with Mike. I mean, if we have a depth problem, someone's hurt, we can certainly bring him over. But we've left him over the last couple of weeks, and he just keeps getting better, I think. And he's a guy that can play both ways for us, and probably just loves that defensive side of the ball more than the offensive side of the ball right now.
Do you have a plan for next year at this point, or is that something you'll decide in the off season with him, where you'd like him to play next year?
Yeah, that's an off-season plan. And again, it very likely could be that he plays both ways again, and find out where he is in the 2 deep. But we've got to get him. If he can start somewhere, that's a bonus. I mean, I don't want to say he's a D tackle, but he's one of the 3 starters. I'd rather him be a starter. So I think it's depending on where we feel like he can get in there and help us where our needs at, based on graduation and seniors that have moved on. So I think that's going to be. Really where it starts is, looking at the plan and, what we've lost. And again, we don't lose that many seniors. We don't lose anybody on defense overall, except the defensive end and Alan Edwards. I mean, we got 2 seniors playing for us right now, so we're a young football team. And then offensively, we lose one of our guards and Alex Officer. So that'll be something that, we'll be looking to say, is he going to be the guy to fill over for AO?
Hey, I'm talking to him at 12:30. Any tips on how to get him to say more than 2 or 3 words?
Talk about food and talk about defense. You got it. That'll get it.
Hey, Coach,
food. He likes food and he likes defense.
Great.
Good luck to you,
Hey,
Pat.
thank you for your time. Yep, thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
And we have a question from Andrea Adelson with ESPN.com. Please proceed.
Why has Darren emerged for you guys in the run game? What has he done these last 3 weeks that has given you guys a spark?
Andrea, he's really just played really good, and I think our offensive line is tied in with him, and it's great to see. I mean, after the Duke, you're sitting there looking for the guy that's going to be the hot guy for you, and after the Duke game, you're going, wow, that's great. He had 2 long runs and 250 plus and all that. And then he was able to match another great performance against Virginia, and he had another really good one against North Carolina that we had a really good chance to win and didn't get it done. So why? I don't know. Maybe he's figured it out. He's really pressing the line of scrimmage well. When I say that, he's able to set up blocks for O-line. So he's, it's not that he's just gaining the yards. It's how he's running the ball. He's really taken to the coaching, Coach Powell. Our running back coach, he's pressing it. No linemen are able to get their blocks when he presses it well. And I guess when you talk about flow of linebacker play and D-line play, because he's setting the blocks for the offensive line, it makes their job easier too. So I've said it all along throughout the season when the run game was sputtering, that it's not just the O-line. Everybody wants to point at the O-line when you're not running, or then it's the running backs the next week. But it's a combination of the quarterback, the O-line. Obviously the running back play, and then our receivers blocking downfield too. So there's 11 guys out there, and I think as a whole they're doing a great job, and they're engaged in what we're doing.
Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it.
You got it, Andrew.
Coach, this is Mike Finn in Greensboro. Thanks for being with us today. Good luck this weekend, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday due to the Thanksgiving holiday.
Sounds great. Thanks, Mike.
We're now joined by Boston College head coach Steve Adazio, whose Eagles will face Connecticut in the American Athletic Conference this Saturday in a game at Fenway Park in Boston. The game, which is actually a home game for UConn, will have a 7 p.m. kickoff, will be televised nationally by the CBS Sports Network. Coach, just a brief opening statement, and then we'll go to questions.
Yeah, we have a great contest here in Fenway, which is a great venue right down the street here. We're playing University of Connecticut. Randy Etzel has done an unbelievable job there in the past, and as you can tell, building that program much like he did before with toughness, really well coached, really well disciplined. They've got good players on offense. They've got a new quarterback who's very athletic, 2 strong running backs. Receivers are catching the ball well on defense. They've got a really fantastic nose guard, linebacker Junior Joseph, and defensive end Cole Ormsby. So they've got talent. They're getting better each week. They're playing their best football right now. It's a geographical game. There'll be a lot of people from the Northeast there, and be a great atmosphere. So we're excited to get back to play, and looking forward to getting back on the field Saturday night. Any questions?
If you'd like to register for a question, please press 1-4 on your telephone. We have a question from the line of Dan Tortora with WakeUpCallDT.com. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Coach. How are you?
Good, thanks, Dan.
to look at this matchup. On the other side of it, Randy Edsall, when I spoke with him earlier this week, he said this is a game he'd like to play every year. And as far as, Northeast football and the respect he has for you as a coach, how would you respond to this matchup between BC and UConn?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when you're out of conference and you can play a regional, a local regional game like that, I think it's good for college football. I think it's good for the Northeast. I think it's good for everybody. I mean, you're not talking about a big budgetary deal, having to travel a long way and all other kind of stuff. I'm a Connecticut guy and very proud Connecticut guy, and I love seeing the University of Connecticut playing Division I football, and that was something I always hoped would happen. And so, I think it's great.
And then as far as, this season, last year, you're able to get to 6-6 in the regular season, get to a bowl game and win it. You're one away from getting bowl eligible again this season. Just what you can say about how the team has performed the last couple seasons and how you're in control of your own destiny right now, once again.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been bowl eligible. If we win Saturday, we'll be our 4 out of 5 years we'll be bowl eligible, and that's been while we've really developed this football program. I think this year, I think we've played really well this year. We have the second-ranked most difficult schedule in the country, and with that, we've lost 9 starters, and and now including our quarterback. So to overcome all of that with the second toughest schedule, playing in the toughest conference on a very tough side, I think if we can win Saturday and get the bowl eligibility again, realizing how many great young players we have right now, freshman players that are elite players, I think the future is very, very bright. So our focus and attention right now is finding a way Saturday night in Fenway Park to go win a football game and overcome everything and play at a high level and win. And that's what's on our mind.
And a quick follow-up to that, just what you can say about, having the adversity at quarterback. You've had success at the position, but just what you can say about moving forward and weathering the adversity.
Well, I think everybody else has to pick up, you pick it up a little bit. You rally together, you bond together, and, we've got a lot of good reps in here. Darius Wade has got a lot of good reps, and all together as a program, you go out and you win a football game. That's what it is. I mean, everybody across the country has faced difficulties, and you can't waste 1 second worrying about that. You got to put all your energy into your plan to win. And so, some years you're going to be faced with more. There's always difficulties. It depends on how they come, and you got to deal with it. How you deal with it will speak to the integrity and the toughness of your program. So we're going to be just fine, and we will put a good game plan together and play at a high level. We've got good players.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Andrea Adelson with ESPN.com. Please proceed.
Steve, as a quick follow-up to that, you guys were rolling on offense, and it found a good chemistry with the young players. So, how difficult was it to see Anthony go down last week?
You know what, Andrea? I felt just devastated for Anthony. I love the kid. He's got something special about him. He's going to be a special player in the conference, and I mean, sure, it was exciting. We had good rhythm even last Saturday. He was in there until the very beginning of the second quarter, and we had great confidence and great rhythm. And now we'll be a different team, but we'll still be a good team. And what teams do, like families do, they rally together, they bring the best out of each other, and they pick it up. And that's what we're going to do here. And that's another mark of a good football team. So, like, what I really believe is that, and I'm not saying this is not being said to be complaining. This is said that we've lost so many guys this year, that so many other guys have had to step up and play, that this is going to make us such a strong football program because we have talent and ability, and everybody will be back. And these experiences are going to build us from the inside out even better. And I believe that and feel great about that. And I loved our practice today. I love the way our kids approached it. They're pretty resilient. They've taken a lot of shots right now from a lot of different injuries and keep coming out and making this the best part of their day. So if you can't get excited to coach that group of guys and you can't get excited about all that, then shame on you. So we had a great day, and we're looking forward to playing a great game.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Any more questions for Coach Adazio?
If you'd like to register for a question, please press 1-4. We have a question from Christopher Heidel with Herb FM Sports Radio. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach Steve. How you doing?
Doing great, thanks.
Talk about playing in Fenway Park. What is the obstacles for playing in that stadium? Because that used to be the home of the Patriots way back in the 60s. They haven't played football until you guys played Notre Dame a couple of years ago. Is there any things you guys have to work on because of that environment? Because that's like a baseball stadium now?
I think the biggest thing is both teams are on the same sideline, so your team box, so to speak, is not the same. So when your team is away from you, it's a much further distance to travel. So substitutions become more complicated and more difficult, and you have to pay attention to that. And I think that's the biggest factor here in this game. The venue's great, the energy, the specialness of it is great, but the functionality of that is a challenge, and you got to practice it.
And talk about Randy Edsel. What type of coach is he? I know he had problems here at Maryland because, in the state of Maryland, you can't recruit a lot of good players. But I know when he was in Connecticut, he built that program from the bottom up. So what type of coach is Randy Edsel?
I think Randy's a fantastic coach. I've played Randy when he was at UConn. I've played Randy when he was at Maryland. And every place he's been, I feel like he's really built a good football program. He's a really good evaluator in recruiting. On the field, his teams are very fundamentally sound. They're disciplined. I think he's excellent. Having sat in head coaches' meetings with him, I think he's a real bright guy that always has great insights. And so I have a lot of respect for Randy and what he's done and what he'll continue to do.
Well, good luck this week.
Thank you.
Coaches and Mike Finn in Greensboro, thanks for being with us today. Good luck this weekend, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday due to the Thanksgiving holiday.
Great, Mike. Thank you.
We now welcome Duke head football coach David Cutcliffe, whose Blue Devils will host Coastal Division rival Georgia Tech this Saturday at Brooks Field and Wallace Wade Stadium in Durham. The game will have a 3:30 p.m. kickoff, be televised by 12 different regional sports networks, and Saturday's game marks the 85th meeting between the two teams. Coach, just a brief opening statement, and we'll go to questions.
All right. We are obviously very familiar with Georgia Tech, a team we play every year, a team that, as you just mentioned, traditionally it's Duke and Georgia Tech have played a lot of football. They are really a good football team. This is one of the best Georgia Tech teams I've seen coming off a huge win. They have a lot of talent. They execute well in all areas, all three phases, and it's going to be a huge challenge for us. It's our seniors' last game, so it's certainly emotional in that regard, and Wallace Wade Stadium on Brooks Field. So we got to rise to the occasion, and when you're playing a team like Georgia Tech, you have to make yourself do that. We've worked hard, and hopefully we'll be well prepared. I'll take any questions.
If you'd like to register for a question, please press 1-4. Our first question is from Dan Tortora with wakeupcalldt.com. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Coach. How are you?
I'm good, Dan. I hope you're doing all right.
I'm doing well. You just came off the intro speaking on Georgia Tech and a lot of football being played between your team and theirs. Just what you can say about Paul Johnson and the level of respect you have for him and just how you would describe him as a coach on the other side.
Sure. Well, first of all, Paul and I have been, good friends for a while. I think when you're on the other side of the field, you know exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get a guy that manages a game as well as any coach in the business. He is so versed in what he does offensively that really kind of no matter what you try, he's got the answers. I think it's been a lot of years he's put into running his offense, and so he does know the answers and reacts and adjusts quickly as well as anybody in the business. He's got a great staff, and so,
Georgia Tech teams every year. They play good defense. They are outstanding on offense, and they play really terrifically in the kicking game. So I think, just all around is one of the best coaches in the business.
And then on your side of it, just what you can say about this year's team and what you've learned, coaching Duke for as long as you have and the work that you put in. What has this team taught you this year?
Well, it's been interesting. We opened up with 4 straight wins. We played really pretty well. We are a team that hasn't been able to win in the fourth quarter. I think you realize when you lose 4 games by a touchdown or less, that you're not winning the fourth quarter, and that's where conference games are won. That's where championships are won, and just how critically important that is. And regardless of whether it doesn't matter which side of the ball you may be struggling on, and you get in a game and you got an opportunity in the fourth quarter, you got to take advantage of it. And we hadn't done that very well, and that's my job. So hopefully we can solve that riddle starting Saturday.
Thanks, David. I appreciate your time and good luck moving forward.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Herman Thomas with Early Mornings with Herman Thomas. Please proceed.
Yes, Coach. Marshall only completed 2 passes out of 8 attempts on Saturday, but the 2 he completed on play action led to Georgia Tech's victory over Virginia Tech. Your thoughts about facing this young man on Saturday?
Yeah, he's a terrific athlete, first of all, and a really accurate passer. He is so quick and elusive. He can buy time in the passing game. But because of their ability to run the ball so efficiently with him, you find people committing too much in the back end. You commit your safeties too much to the run. And as I mentioned earlier, Paul Johnson's going to see these things. And Taekwon is the player that can execute. And they've got really good receivers that can stretch the field. They can run. They're quality, big receivers. So that's the risk all the time. I think it was an 80-yarder and a 60-yarder to average to round them out, and they're brutal. So you just work all week long at your eye discipline and responsibilities, and hope that your guys don't lose focus a single play, because it's there every snap potentially.
Now, I know both have their own unique challenges, but in your opinion, which is tougher to cover defensively, the spread option or the triple option that Army had last week?
Well, Army has got a lot of the same formations. They're just not throwing the football. They've decided that's a better way for them to win. It minimizes a game greatly. When they threw 1 pass against us, they did not throw one against Air Force, so in 2 games, that's 1 pass. But some of the other concepts are similar. I think, obviously, Georgia Tech is harder to defend first because they have more talent just overall. They're a very talented football team. And secondly, when you are efficient throwing the play action, run action pass, if you will, and even drop back, then it's very difficult to defend that team. And so, not that both of them aren't different and both of them aren't difficult to defend, but certainly if I had to choose, I think Georgia Tech's the most difficult to defend. They're more versatile.
Thank you, sir, and I wish you much success Saturday against the Rambling Wreck.
Thank you.
Our next question is from John Kekis with the Associated Press. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach. Your impressions of the Army quarterback, Ahmad Bradshaw, what makes him so good?
Well, he is strong physically. He's bigger. I don't know if stout's the word, but he's stronger than you might think he is. He's not a big person. And he also has quickness. He's got great hands and ball handling skills. So he's just as consistent with that football as you will see an option quarterback be. We've seen a lot of him, and I think it's probably time for him to graduate.
when he squats, he really squats low. It seems like he squats lower than anybody I've ever seen. Does that help him?
Well, that's a lot of option coaches believe that that's where you start the whole thing. And, you know, what it does is he's bent kneed and in a great position to move. And he also, you can ride the fullback lower, which they do. Their fullback hits really, really low behind his pads. So they're very conscious of that fullback game and the follow game where he follows the fullback and are also a halfback. So I just think that's their philosophy. And you got to be he looks like a baseball catcher down there, you know, and you got to be a strong young man to be able to do that. It doesn't look very comfortable, that's for sure.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck
yes,
this Saturday.
Sir. Thank you.
Coaches, Mike Finn in Greensboro, thanks for being with us today. Good luck this weekend. And we'll talk to you next Tuesday due to the Thanksgiving Day holiday.
We can work that out. Sounds good.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Mike.
Just before we get to NC State head coach Dave Dorn, a couple of honors rolled in today for Bradley Chubb from NC State. Chubb, their outstanding defensive end, was named one of the final 15 players for the Walter Camp National Player of the Year Award. And he was also named one of the 5 finalists for the Nagurski Award, which goes to the top defensive player in the country. And with that, we welcome Coach Dorn, who's Wolfpack ranked 19th by the College Football Playoff, will travel to Winston-Salem, North Carolina for the Saturday game against Wake Forest at BB&T Field. The game will have a 7:30 p.m. kickoff, be nationally televised by ESPNU. And, of course, Chubb leads the nation in tackles for loss, averaging 2.3 TFLs a game, and is 5th nationally in quarterback sacks. Coach, just a brief opening statement. We'll go to questions.
You bet. Thanks, Mike. Just following up on Bradley, just really excited for him and just the way he's playing the game. I mean, he's having so much fun and producing and preparing himself week in and week out to make plays and putting it on the film, not just on defense, but helping our special teams units with field goal blocks and punt blocks and having a good time doing it. It's really rewarding as a coach to see a guy like that and the way that his teammates are playing with him, too. I wish I could clone him. But great young man and deserving of everything he's earned. As far as our team, excited, to be able to go up to BC and beat a very good football team. And it was a physical game on their senior day, and they had a bye week to prepare for us. I think the world of Coach Adagio and their staff, and I'll tell you that running back Dylan's a special young player. And we found a way to win in a tough situation and blocking a punt before the half, making a field goal after 3 straight consecutive icings of our kicker was impressive for Kyle. And then we struggled, with the field goal kicking in the second half, and Naheem broke a big run for us to finish the game. And defensively had 4 fourth down stops and 2 takeaways in the football game. So a lot of things we need to get better at, but a lot of things to be proud of on the road against a team that had won 3 in a row. And now go down to Wake and play a similar team from the standpoint of how they're scoring. And BC had scored 35 plus in 3 straight games. Wake is the same, and their quarterback, John Wofford's playing as good as anybody in the country right now. And he can run, he can throw, he's accurate, he's tough, he's got game experience, and he's got good weapons around him and a good system. And Coach Clausen's done a nice job down there. I mean, he played a lot of young guys like we had, and now they're playing in their 2nd, 3rd, and 4th years with some guys, and they believe in each other, and they're playing hard. And defensively, they've struggled at times, but they did a great job in the second half against Syracuse, and they're well coached. They've had some injuries that have hurt them, and we've been through that here throughout the year as well, so we understand that and look forward to playing them in an in-state game that I know will mean a lot for both teams, and expect a great football game from both schools. Questions?
If you'd like to register for a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. And our first question is from Dan Tortora with wakeupcalldt.com. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Coach. How are you?
Good, Dan. How are you?
Doing well. you were speaking on Bradley Chubb here for a few minutes in your intro. He had said to me at ACC Media Day that coming back, he just felt like faith-wise, God told him to come back to NC State, and he said, I can't doubt God. Just to speak on the faith that you see from him and how he gives faith to this team.
Well, it's a great young man. He's raised by incredible parents, and he did it the right way. I mean, he sat down with us and had us, give him all the information we could get back from the NFL. Our university was able to insure him through the NCAA, for returning in case of injury, which I know gave him some peace of mind. He was close to being able to finish his degree by coming back, and just looking at the math of what he could gain, he would have been probably the 4th or 5th end picked in the draft last year, which is anywhere from $3 to $7 million, and coming back he stood to be the first end, which is $25 to $30 million per year. And so from a business decision standpoint, Bradley looked at it all and talked to everybody he could talk to, and the people he trusts, and then he prayed on it and went with his heart. And he loves his teammates, and they love him, and so I think that was a big part of it as well.
And then for you, on the side, in coaching nowadays, it's what have you done for me lately, and a lot of coaches don't get time to build a program or to make their mark on it. You have had an opportunity at NC State to build over the past few seasons, and just what you can say about your appreciation in them believing in your plan, and then seeing that plan turn into you being either number 1 or 2 in the Atlantic division of the ACC throughout the season.
Right. Well, I'm proud of our players and our coaches for hanging in there. We went through a rough stretch last year after we lost to Clemson. We were just emotionally disabled, really, for a couple weeks, and then bounced back and almost beat Florida State, and played Miami to a tough game and lost, and then found a way to win 3 of our last 4 in a bowl game. And through that finish, we were able to earn another year, and had we not finished that way, I don't know if I'd be on the phone with you, Our kids hung in there, our coaches hung in there, and earned another opportunity to come back here for this season, and it's been in the making. When you play a bunch of freshmen and sophomores, it takes time, and I'm glad we were able to finish the way we did so that the administration would allow us to continue our work and continue to work with these great players, great young men, and be a part of such a great institution like NC State.
And a quick follow-up to that, not only you, but on the other side in the matchup with Dave Clawson, he was given time to build the program as well through some adversity. Just what you could say about how the Atlantic Division looked moving forward, because the usual suspects are Clemson and Florida State, but it's obviously become different moving forward.
Well, it's a great conference just in general, not just the Atlantic. I mean, you sit at that table and you look around it, and there's a bunch of guys that you look up to in the business and have done a great deal of work, not just in our league, but you got Coach Rick and everything he did at Georgia, and it's impressive. As you look across the table and you see Coach Cutcliffe, and you got Dabo obviously, and Jimbo, and guys that have won national championships. And then Coach Fuente did a great job his first year. I mean, there's some tremendous football coaches, and Bronco did a great job at BYU and is turning Virginia around. So this league is full of tremendous coaches, and all of them recruit hard and do it the right way. And when you play each other, it's every week. It's a battle, and I think every year because of that, you're going to see some upsets, and hopefully you see, like it was this year, a chance for a team like us to climb the ladder, and if we can win out, do something that hasn't been done here, and that's win 7 ACC games.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for your questions.
Our next question is from Andrea Adelson with ESPN.com. Please proceed.
Dave, you just touched on what I wanted to ask you. You guys have already clinched the winning ACC record for the first time in 2010, and it sounds like you want more. I know you mentioned that last week, but how important is that, the fact that now you are able to say that you do have this winning record in the ACC and there's plenty more to build on from here on out?
Right. Yeah, I think it helps. I mean, people were using that against me in recruiting, and obviously in the media, that's a story that wasn't good. And to be able to flip that and show the progress in our program. I mean, it takes time, and to build it the way we did, where we played young guys. I mean, we didn't try to quick fix it and bring in a bunch of junior college kids. I mean, we had a transfer here or there, but we did it with young players and developed them. And so to be able to show the fruits of your labor, I'm happy that we have 5 wins. We'd be ecstatic if we could get a 6th and then a 7th, and it's never been done. So that's kind of with these seniors. I love these kids so much. I want them to say that they've done something that hasn't been done at this school, and that's what we're talking about trying to do.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
You bet.
And we have a question from Samuel Evers with Rocky Mount Telegram. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach, I was just wondering if we can maybe get some insight on just how hard it is to compile such a deep and experienced and kind of senior-laden defensive line, and maybe if there is another group that you've worked with, in your time you've been around for a while.
Yeah, it's challenging to keep guys. First of all, to recruit 4 guys that good that work that hard is hard in one class, and you don't always hit jackpot and have 4 for 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes one of them gets hurt, or one of them doesn't feel like he plays enough and he transfers, or one of them, just doesn't develop the way that you thought he would, or has off-the-field issues or academic issues. I mean, there's a myriad of things that happen to these guys in college, and all 4 of these guys have worked their butts off, and they've worked through injuries that they've had and stayed healthy enough to become what they are, and on top of that, they're just incredible human beings. I mean, these 4D linemen are role models, and so we hit the jackpot with them. When I was at Kansas my last year, we had a very talented defensive line, not as talented as this one. At Wisconsin, we had J.J. Watt and O'Brien Schofield in the same year, and they were both really good players, but to have the 4 that we have right now, even the guys that are rotating in are really good. With Roseboro, what he produces, and Bryant at times this year has played really well. So hopefully we can continue the tradition here, and I don't know when it was, but in the last 20 years they had a D-line like this where there were 3 of them drafted, in the first 3 rounds with Mario's class. So it'd be great to continue that tradition here.
Gotcha. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, this is Mike Finn in Greensboro. Thanks for being with us today. Good luck this week, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday due to the Thanksgiving holiday.
Look forward to it, Mike. Go Pack.
We now welcome Miami head coach Mark Richt, whose Hurricanes ranked 3rd by the College Football Playoff, 2nd by the Associated Press, and the Amway Coaches Poll will host Coastal Division rival Virginia this Saturday at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens. The game will have a noon kickoff and be nationally televised by ESPN. Miami safety Jaquan Johnson was named the Walter Camp National Defensive Player of the Week this week, and has also been named one of the final 15 for the Walter Camp National Player of the Year award. Coach, just a brief opening statement, and then we'll go to questions.
Sure. We got our practice in today. It was raining like mad, and ended up having to cut it a little bit short, cut out some of the work that we do against our best on best, and just focused on special teams and scout team work. But we got it in, which was good, and now we're getting ready to see how it went with the coaching staff and make corrections and get ready for the next day.
Questions for Coach Richt?
If you'd like to register for a question, please press 1-4 on your telephone. Our first question is from Dan Tortora with the wakeupcalldt.com. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for asking. So look at where your team is at. Obviously, you're going to be playing against Clemson in the ACC championship game, and currently are in the college football playoff. Just to speak on, you've only been in Miami for a couple seasons now, and just how quickly this turnaround has come, and how excited you are about how the team's responded to you.
Well, I've been excited about these guys from the very beginning. They were, I remember the first team meeting I had with these guys, and they were kind of on the edge of their seat. You could tell they were hungry for victory, and I think they, for the most part, they all wanted to pay the price for that. There's a price to be paid to begin to win games and do things the right way. And there was a few guys that fell by the wayside that really it wasn't for them, which is fine. But majority of that room stuck it out, and the good news is good things are happening. So I'm happy for our players and appreciate all their efforts.
And then I know it's something that's been asked about a lot, but just to get your thoughts on the turnover chain and how that builds morale for your team. And obviously, every guy on the team wants an opportunity to wear it. So just how that can create another special element for the team.
Well, one of the things I wanted to do when I decided to continue coaching after leaving Georgia was to enjoy it more, to celebrate all the good things that happen. And, sometimes after a game you're thankful you won, and that's about all you can muster. But I'm like, forget being thankful. Let's celebrate. And so I wanted to celebrate all the good things along the way, and that's really what the turnover chain's about. It's about celebrating a great play and doing it in a big way and doing it, quite frankly, in a fun way. We got guys sprinting off the field onto the sideline to pop their helmet off to get the chain and be able to celebrate with teammates and coaches and fans. And I think it's good, clean fun. I mean, there's not anybody taunting anybody with it. There's not anybody trying to, put anybody down with it. It's only about building up the guys that are making those plays and doing it the Miami way.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it, and good luck moving forward.
Yes, sir.
Our next question is from Andrea Adelson with ESPN.com. Please proceed.
Mark, you guys already clinched the Coastal and already have your spot in the ACC championship game, but you still have two games left to close out the season. Does the mindset change at all? Do you have to address the team any differently, knowing that that spot's been clinched, but you still have some games to play?
Well, I talked to him after practice today and just said, hey, man, I'm not going to sit here and ignore the fact that a lot of great things are happening around here, and there's a lot of excitement around us, around the program. But, we're the same team that started this season that was grinding and fighting and trying to find ways to win games. And we're the same team, and if we forget that, then we're going to find ourselves being in trouble. We're going to be playing an outstanding team, a team that historically has given Miami all we can handle, and we got to be prepared for that.
Thanks, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And our next question is from Jerry Ratcliffe with Charlottesville Daily Progress. Please proceed.
Hey, Mark. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Good, thank you. What are your impressions of what Bronco has been able to do in getting Virginia turned around, and what do you see are the biggest differences between last year and this year's team?
Well, I know Bronco on a personal level. I've known him for years. I've admired his work while he was at BYU. I knew he was going to be a great hire for Virginia because I knew he was going to bring solid, first of all, a solid person, a person of character, a person that was going to be good for young people, and then also I knew he was a great fundamental coach. I knew he was going to be, teaching, nothing was going to be done by smoke and mirrors. It was going to be done by hard work and strong fundamentals and good scheme and all that kind of thing. No shortcuts to victory type guy. And I knew in time he would do great things. And so, I'm happy for his success.
And what do you think are the biggest differences in your film study between last year and this year's team?
Be honest with you, I hadn't even looked at last year's tape. I forgot what it looked like, but I'm just watching what they do. We're looking at the scheme of it and the personnel of it, and that's really all we're focusing on right now.
Okay. Thank you.
You got it.
Our next question is from the line of Matt Baker with Tampa Bay Times. Please proceed.
Hey, Mark, how do you assess the performance of Tyree at right tackle for you all this year?
Tyree's done very well, very steady performer, has just been just very solid in his grades every game. He's not been an up and down guy. He's been a guy that's been really steady. And I wouldn't say he is, the most dominating player in college football, but he's had his share of knocking people off the ball and pass protecting really good ends. And I'm proud of him. Very few missed assignments, very few hurries or sacks by him. Just a great season, really.
This might be a hard question for you to answer, but he's one of a handful of guys that you have on your roster from IMG Academy in Bradenton. Do you notice a difference with those guys? Are they any more developed just because of what they go through there?
Well, I know they have a great program there for sure, and I don't think it hurt him by any means. I think that those guys go to IMG and they start competing with guys that are just closer to them in skill set. And that's a big thing. And then being away from home is a big thing. And then, just playing a certain schedule that's a little bit different than our normal high school. I think all those things help prepare those guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next question is from Doug Dowdy with the Roanoke Times. Please proceed.
Yes, you alluded to your relationship with Bronco earlier, and I was curious, does it speak to that relationship that you and he discussed the new UVA athletic director earlier in the year?
Right. Well, I've known Carla a long time, and I think she's awesome. I think she's a great hire for Virginia's university and athletic program. I think she's going to do great things. She's a person of integrity and somebody who really gets the athletic part of being in a wonderful academic institution. She understands the balance of that. She understands what it's like to be a coach. She understands what it's like to be a student athlete, and she knows what it's like to be an outstanding administrator. So she's ready for it, and I just let Bronco know that him and her are going to get along great because they're very similar in how they want to go about their business, and that's with full character and and just doing things the right way.
Thank you.
You got it.
And we have a question from Todd Forrest with North Georgia News. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks. I just want to ask you about DJ Dallas. He was recruited he was a quarterback in high school, then was recruited as a wide receiver. Just wanted to ask you, what did you see in DJ that made you confident that he could make the move to running back? And then how has he progressed since he made the switch?
Right. Well, his high school film, you can see he had great running ability. Obviously, he played quarterback and threw the ball well, but he did run the ball a lot at the quarterback position. So you could see those skills and instincts as a runner. But we really felt like he could be a heck of a receiver, and he was really trying to drop weight to get his quickness at the optimal level to be a wide receiver and to be able to run route after route after route, get the stamina up. So he was kind of getting his weight he's probably trying to lose about 10 pounds. Mm-hmm. And then, so we thought he had the running skills and ball skills to be a good running back. And so he was really the only option we had to make a change mid-season. We thought about changing him back in the spring, back in the summer, when we lost a couple running backs, Gus Edwards and Joe Yearby. We thought about moving him to running back then, but we just thought maybe we could get through the season and be healthy. It just didn't work out that way. So now all of a sudden mid-season he's learning how to play tailback, which is hard to do, and he's done a great job. And if he has another off season to get his body right for it, I think he'll do even better.
Thanks, Coach.
You got it.
Coach, this is Mike Finn in Greensboro. Thanks for being with us today. Good luck this weekend. And we'll talk to you next Tuesday due to the Thanksgiving Day holiday.
All right, thank you.
This concludes today's ACC Football Coaches Teleconference. Thanks for being with us. But please join us next Tuesday for the final regular season teleconference, which will begin at 10:30.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the call for today. We thank you for your participation and ask that you please disconnect your line.